Welcome back to Tarot by the Bay. I'm David. Well, fun times. Fun times with Alina Habba, Donald Trump, the Colorado voting case, and the Supreme Court. I believe it was yesterday. Alina Habba, it was late Thursday, said she had faith in the Supreme Court and believed that Justice Brett Kavanaugh will, quote, step up, unquote, in Trump's ballot cases in Maine and Colorado. Quoting her, "I think it should be a slam dunk in the Supreme Court. I have faith in them." This was on Fox News with Sean Hannity. Continuing the quote, "You know, people like Kavanaugh, who the president fought for, who the president went through to get in place, he'll step up." And she's then added, I guess, "Oh, no, I'm not gangstering the court at all." She said, "Oh, the justices will step up, quote, not because they're pro-Trump, but because they're pro-law and because they're pro-fairness." How to be a mob boss without having to be a mob boss. So that was Thursday night. Today, the Supreme Court announced that they're going to take up the Colorado case, and oral arguments will begin on February 8th. Apparently, there are like a dozen states that are contemplating removing Trump from the ballot. So the Supreme Court really does need to step up here. Trump's attorneys had some interesting points. They're saying, it's not right for these states to deny their voters the candidate of their choice. What was the other one? Trump's attorneys were saying they told the court that only Congress can decide who is eligible to serve as president. And they said the actions by the court in Colorado and state official in Maine deprive voters of the right to vote for a candidate of their choice. In a statement, the Trump campaign said it welcomed a, quote, fair hearing, unquote. And, quote, "We are confident that the fair-minded Supreme Court will unanimously affirm the civil rights of President Trump and the voting rights of all Americans," unquote. Okay, so here we go, folks. We're in the home stretch here. We got a month to go, a month and a few days to go here, and the Supreme Court's going to start hearing arguments on basically the 14th Amendment, Section 3, in Trump's eligibility. So let's look at the energy as it looks right now, and actually, let's go chronologically, shall we? Let's discuss Brett Kavanaugh, Alina Habba's comment. What can you share with us about Alina Habba's comment and what appears to be messaging directly sent to Brett Kavanaugh, entertainment purposes only? Yeah, remember that little favor we did for you? We sent you some calendars for Christmas and a 12-pack of beer. You know those little favors we did? We're ready for that favor back. They're trying to call in favors, and they're trying to get Donald Trump out of trouble. And expect more statements to come. They can't directly message, right? Because that would be, tampering, and you can't have that. But no, he's in some real trouble right now because there's a lot of states out there, so they're trying to send the message out, and they're going to continue messaging. This won't be the only time that we see little veiled comments like that, probably from Alina Habba. In the past, we got the hangman, the willing sacrifice. Brett Kavanaugh should never, ever, ever have been a Supreme Court justice. Never. Everything that happened with Dr. Blasey Ford and everything like that, they should have just kicked him off and moved on. And Donald Trump, it wasn't like he wanted him. The Federalist Society gave him a list of a bunch of people's names. He picked Kavanaugh's and said, that looks good to me. And then when all the crap hit the fan, they could have picked somebody else. There was nothing special about Kavanaugh, but he's Trump's guy now. And now he owes Trump a favor. At least in Trump's mind, he owes Trump a favor. Current situation is Trump, I think, has been trying to call in favors, and he's not been having any success. For whatever reason, and I know this is going to stun all of you, that when he gives you a favor, he expects a favor back. And when you don't give the favor back, he's stunned. I got you on the Supreme Court. Clearly, you should rule for me in every Supreme Court trial, because integrity isn't a thing with him. Transaction is. I got you something. It's your turn to return the favor. And he's not winning any Supreme Court cases. So you've got to make an offer he can't refuse. And Kavanaugh's sitting there refusing. Overarching is the Five of Swords. Trump knows he's in trouble. He needs help to get out of the trouble that he's made for himself. And, getting on the Colorado ballot, will he actually win Colorado? Probably not, but it is close to a purple state. But it's not just Colorado, it's all the states. That he knows this is for all the marbles for him. If he does not get on all the state ballots, he can pretty much write off his chances of being elected president. Now, mind you, and I've said this before, you could take him off the ballot in a red state, and that would make a huge difference, because then he wouldn't get the electoral votes for the red state. If you take him off the ballot in a blue state, like California, he wasn't going to get those electoral votes anyways. And it's unlikely that the courts in a red state are going to kick him out unless they were ruling by the law. And they seem to be, courts can be a little resistant sometimes, or a little biased, shall we say. It's the battleground states. If his name is off on the battleground states, or a couple of the battleground states, then that means they're going to Biden. And it's the battleground states you need to win to get yourself to 270. Okay, now that being said, there is that secondary effect. MAGA voters come out to vote for Trump and only Trump. So if you take Donald Trump off of the ballot in California, for instance, the MAGA voters aren't going to come out because they're not really that interested in voting for, Devin Nunes for their candidate. They're out there to vote for Trump, and while they're there, they vote for all the Republicans down the line. If, half the MAGA voters or 90% of the MAGA voters, and I don't know what normal percentage of MAGA voters would be normal voters and which ones are unlikely voters. The folks that never voted before but came out to vote for Trump. How many of those people make up MAGA? It's probably a pretty good percentage. Let's say it's a third, just for number's sake. That third of the people most likely, highly likely, aren't going to come out and vote. So that gives the Democratic candidates, except in extremely red districts, it's going to give them a much better chance of winning a district. A closely fought district where basically a third of the Republican voters, or maybe not a third of the Republican voters, but a third of the MAGA voters, which will probably be, say, 15% of the Republican voters don't show up. You'd have to have a plus 15, district to overcome that. Or at least like a plus 7 or plus 8 district to overcome that. It's important for Trump to have his name on the ballot because not only does Trump need to be president, but then he needs to have Republicans in charge of the House and Senate. He needs the whole Congress in order to pull off the shenanigans he needs to pull off on. Okay? So, Five of Swords. Sorry for that long segue. The Five of Swords is he's understanding he's got to win this case. If he's not on ballots and the Republicans are not in charge of Congress, he's screwed. The lesson to be learned is the King of Wands. The problem is he is responsible for his actions. Now, the King of Wands has also been my card for the Department of Justice. But, Department of Justice is doing a lot of investigations into him. But Donald Trump was the one who was calling people to action. He was saying, you need to go down to the Capitol and fight for your country. He was the one basically leading an insurrection. And the Colorado Supreme Court basically disqualified him for basically participating in an insurrection. In an erection. King Viagra. For basically engaging in insurrection. Donald Trump, in his response, says, I've never been convicted of insurrection. Was it on this article? No, it was on the other one. Let me get to this other one. Just he had this great quote here. Oh God, that was a great quote. Habba argued that the 14th Amendment was for people who were pro-slavery and anti-American. That's not what the case is in this instance. That's not the quote I was looking for. But basically, Trump was saying something like, I was never convicted of insurrection. It's not what the Constitution doesn't require you to be convicted. It just says you engaged in it. Cupcake. What's the outcome? Sword of justice. That's not good for the Republicans. This case is going, and obviously the answer is this case is going to trial, and I really do believe in Trump's crown. Trump's crown is on the line here, and you've got the laurels, and all the laurels are all dying in here. His days are gone. This is the Colorado case is going to be a strong case, and the Supreme Court to overrule the Colorado case, they're going to have to kind of twist themselves into some pretzels here. And we've certainly seen people turn themselves into pretzels for Donald Trump. I'm looking at you, Lindsay. Miss Lindsay. The ultimate spineless contortionist, Lindsey Graham. But it's one thing to contort yourself when being interviewed on like Sean Hannity or Tucker Carlson. And it's another thing entirely to be a Supreme Court justice ruling on the 14th Amendment section, pardon me, hiccup there, section 3. So, okay, so they're going after Kavanaugh. They're messaging to him. They're going to continue messaging to him, probably to some others. I would assume Amy Coney Barrett's going to be on there soon, so will Gorsuch. But I don't think it's going to make that much of an impression. Because in some ways, the Supreme Court justices, they're appointed for a lifetime. They don't have to vote. They don't have to rule for Trump. And as Bo with Fifth Column has pointed out, you put an authoritarian in there, he doesn't need your Supreme Court anymore. So now you've basically kicked yourself out of a job. It's much better to rule on the Constitution. Much, much better. That doesn't mean that Kavanaugh may not get kicked off later, but, if you want to be on the right side of history, you better support the Constitution that's out there. And again, I keep getting the feeling that the Republicans will try and find a way to not rule on this. The easiest way, it appears, for them to rule on this is to state that Trump did not engage in insurrection. That would be the way to kill it for all the states. Or to put up some rules, for instance, that you can't come up with, I'm making stuff up now, that you can't, there's a test for insurrection. And they'll come up with that test and they'll let you know in February 2025. That kind of thing. Anyways, I laugh. Okay, so let's now look at the Colorado case. How will the Supreme Court, how are things going with the Colorado case in the U.S. Supreme Court? How will the Supreme Court handle that? What's the energy looking like right now? I think, is that Jack Smith on the bottom of my deck? I think it was. Now he's near the top of my deck. I can't just do that, I saw what looked like blue and a sword. I can't just put Jack Smith on the top of my deck and say, oh, look, there's Jack Smith. Well, I could, but then am I forcing why don't I just, put the cards in the order I want? Okay, 3 of Wands. They're waiting for this case to come in. This is nothing foreign interference, is there? 3 of Wands could be stuff coming in from overseas. I don't think that's going to be the case here. I think this is the Supreme Court getting ready. They're getting ready for this case. This case is going to be a defining moment for this very partisan court. Cross with the Queen of Wands. All these actions here. the women of the court, this Judge Roberts, female lawyers. I just think, I don't know if there's an actual woman that this is representing, in as much as the Supreme Court's going to have to look at it and take action. And as this woman is looking off in the distance, you have to look to the future, and not worry about the present. You have to look at the future consequences too. Judgment. Well, there's a good card. The Supreme Court will come up with an answer to this. They will. Well, they already said they're going to rule on it, so yes. But I think they're also going to come up with an answer too. In the past, we got the Queen of Cups. Okay, so there's, there might be quite a bit of discord in the Supreme Court that they've kept under wraps. Unless this cup's representing the court cases and they're bursting out. But this might be the Supreme Court actual dynamic in there. There might be there might have been some pretty strong arguments going on there. This may not be the chummy Supreme Court like they might have been in the past. There's going to be a lot of arguments. I think one group is going to have a lot more success with the Supreme Court with their arguments. This could also be that there's a number of things that the Supreme Court has to rule upon, and they're going through the arguments one by one. But I think the side that's more prepared, and this might be what this is who's prepared. Who are the mature people in the room? And we know that's not going to be Trump's team. So trying not to be biased, but trying to look at this whole reading here. The team that's prepared is going to do much better with the Supreme Court ruling. Okay, over it all, 3 of coins. Okay, I don't think anybody's going to recuse themselves from this case. That would be funny if 3 people did, like Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett recused themselves because they were put on by Trump. That would be wild wishful thinking. That's not what this is going to be, though. I think this is going to be the Supreme Court really needs to go back and provide that expertise to the states. Or, this could be the states arguing to the Supreme Court, here's our cases. And the Supreme Court needs to decide, because their decision is going to impact many, many states. There's already 2 that have booted them off the ballot. I'm sure more are coming. But the Supreme Court's going to have to do their backroom deals and such. The lesson to be learned is the Ace of Cups. I think you're going to see some very, very passionate people here. This really is a make or break decision that they're about to make. Because, again, if they take Trump off the ballot in Maine and Colorado, while he may not have won those states, it's going to impact the elections down the ticket for all the MAGA voters who don't come out and who are angry and protest. Expect there's going to be a lot of protests that are going to happen in front of the Supreme Court in February. They're going to have to put the bicycle gates up. They're going to have a lot of police there and stuff like that. This is going to be a powder keg. A powder keg of emotion. The outcome is the 6 of coins. Oy. I hope this means that their ruling is fair and just. It's making a ruling, and there's a little bit of give in here, but a whole lot of take. Oh, God. I'm not sure how to translate that. Okay, I want to translate that saying that they're going to rule that Colorado and Maine can keep them off. these crumbs. This is what I think it is that they kick him off, but then they offer Trump some crumbs of consolation. Or you could say that Trump invested a lot of money in these judges and he's got very little return. That would be another way to come up with that. If they rule in Trump's favor, it's only because they're going to use some lame argument. Basically, they'll use Trump's argument that they didn't want to disenfranchise these people, so we're going to give them their right to vote, or something along those lines. Oh, God. I think they're just going to kick it back to the states. Again, maybe it's just my fear that they're going to try and find a way out of this. I don't know if they've got the wiggle room to do it. Now, again, I'm coming up with these wild theories of how the Supreme Court could get out of it. Maybe they'd say, okay, well, we're going to keep him on the ballot, but we're going to decide, we'll put up some criteria to see if he engaged in insurrection, and if we find he did, then Congress can impeach him, and remove him from office. Oh, that was the other argument, that only Congress can decide if Trump violated the 14th Amendment. That's the other argument they're trying to put together, because they're taking something from the Section 5 of the 14th Amendment that says, Congress shall legislate this issue or something like that. And they want to say that, only Congress can do this. There's a TikToker named Legal Dad who answered that question earlier today. I saw his TikTok, and he showed a couple other amendments that have that exact same verbiage for under 18 voters and other things. And his point in women's suffrage, it's like, so you're saying is that women can't vote unless Congress does something? 18 people 18 years and older can't vote unless Congress does something? He's like, don't be ridiculous. Basically saying your argument wouldn't apply to other sections of the Constitution. It doesn't apply here. All right. Maybe we'll go about this another way. How will Trump feel about the Supreme Court after they've ruled on this Colorado case and Maine case? How will Trump feel about the Supreme Court after they've ruled on the Colorado or Maine case? Now, mind you, energies can change, and a whole lot of money can end up in calendars and beer. Kegs of beer could end up in Brett Kavanaugh's RV or something like that. And Judge Thomas might suddenly have a great flight to the Caymans. But how's Trump going to feel about the Supreme Court? Wow! I can go on Fox News now. Oh, dear. Nope, that's not good. He's going to be really disappointed. He's really going to be disappointed in 3 people. Can you imagine if Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett all voted against him? The people that he put in, and here's Alito and Thomas saying, oh yeah, we're behind you, Donald. But here's the 3 that he put in. Oh, that's not going to be good. That is not good. Not good. 4 of coins, holding on. He was trying to hold on as much as possible. King of Cups. He's going to rage about this. Actually, this is kind of a big victory for Joe Biden, even though Biden's trying to stay out of this. Oh, there's your strong emotions. Okay. I think they're going to rule against him. I think they're going to say he engaged. No, they won't say he engaged in insurrection. They're going to support the states that removed him from the ballot, and this is kind of his own behavior, his own lack of self-control is what contributed to it. Trump, at this point, he's done. If he's off these ballots, he's done. And now it's about preserving his money and his freedom. And he's got a decision to make. Does he keep running? Or does he take all the money his PAC has raised and fight court cases to keep himself out of prison for the rest of his life? I think if the Supreme Court rules on this, that his campaign is toast. Wow. Okay. I'm okay with that. We'll see if that comes to pass. And we got, again, we got 5-6 weeks at least. I don't know how long the case will go before the Supreme Court. I imagine it's going to be a couple of days to hear it. I don't know how long they take to debate and resolve it. But right now, the way things are looking, it doesn't look like they're going to rule in Trump's favor. It looks like they're going to rule in the state's favor, and that 5 of cups, that disappointing loss. Maybe there's 3 cups. Maybe there's 3 states that kick him off the ballot in total. And if that's the case, it'd be really, really cool if one of them's a swing state. Just saying. All right. I think I'm going to leave it there at this point. We'll visit this again in a month. We'll hit it again in February. Thank you again for watching my channel. Thank you for watching this video and supporting my channel. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for your kind words and everything you do to feed the YouTube algorithm so that my video makes it out to a wider audience. To new viewers and new subscribers, welcome to the channel. Glad you found us. Hope you found this reading insightful. We'll see you next month when the court case starts, and we'll see if the energies have changed at that point. But thank you for your support. I do appreciate it. Take care. Bye-bye.